Hello and welcome back to my cozy channel here on YouTube. It is the 1st of April, which means we are 1/4 of the way through 2026. And it both feels like not much has happened, but a lot has happened. And if you want to know what has happened so far this year for me, you can go back and watch my previous vlogs. This year I have made a commitment to doing one vlog a month to give little snippets into my artist life, behind the scenes of my painting, my process, the beautiful Canberra life that I live, and just odd bits and pieces along the way. Today I am back working on my current painting for a traveller's journal collection, artworks inspired by my travels to Europe over previous years. And the painting I'm working on at the moment, and I'm looking past the camera to the painting, it's right in front of me, is based on a photo I took in Finland when I went on a beautiful hike my last day in Finland. And it's misty pines, and let me show you and explain. So here we have my misty pines, and I did a little bit of work on this last night and I feel like I finally found my groove. Initially, I had this section really flat and a nice gradient from dark to light as per this section here, and it was feeling flat. It was not feeling the softness of what I experienced viewing those mountains back in Finland. So as you can see, I've added a little bit of texture. I need to tidy this up a little bit, but she's almost there. And I think I want to bring just the smallest amount of texture into the top of these mountains, not necessarily around the edge here. I want to keep that quite light, and from my reference photo it is quite soft. There's not too much texture here, but I think for it to sit nicely in the painting and to capture the energy of it, I just want a little bit of texture here, working into there. I then need to, once that's done, bring in this final kind of layer of a dark to light green, and then the bottom layer is going to be really dark, and it's going to have these pines in the foreground sitting up in front of all of this work. So we're going to cover some of this with the final layer, and I don't know, after last night it just is feeling a little bit more moody and a little bit more that kind of misty movement of the landscape. I'm feeling excited. So that is where I'm at the moment. It is Thursday, the 2nd of April, and I have just spent the last, I don't even know how long, because I tapped into flow state, which is such a lovely feeling. So I've been painting for a while. I don't know how long. I lost track of time because I was so absorbed in what I was doing and really got into a groove. Of course, I didn't record it all at all, but sometimes I do find recording when painting, I'm conscious of it, and sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I can just set and forget, and that's kind of how I set up my filming, not in the way that really reminds me I'm filming, because then I can get in my head a little bit of, oh, is the back of my head looking weird? Is it showing on camera? The whole point of me painting is because I love it, because I can tap into flow state and calm down and quieten my mind. So let me show you where it is at, because this one's almost finished now. So here she is. It is a little bit difficult to pick up the colours and even the softness of this on camera. It's, at the moment, at least from the viewfinder I'm looking through, it's appearing like this bottom layer is more blue toned than it actually is. It's actually a softer, kind of leaning towards forest green. But this layer along here is what I have focused on. It's a bit shiny from fresh paint, but if I do say so myself, I'm kind of obsessed how the fog look. It's like it's almost glowing, like really soft transition, and I did that through using 2 different paint brushes, one with my dark color, one with my light, and then the light is what I really used to blend it all out. And then I picked up just a little bit more white on my paint and really focused along these really bright highlight areas that you can see. So I'm really loving the feel of this. Is this picture perfect what my reference photo looks like? No. To be frank, it's not. And I think when I started this painting, especially with how spot on the sky was, I was feeling the pressure to do that. And I know that my spacing for my mountains isn't quite what the reference photo is, but I feel like this has the energy of what I felt standing in the finished forest. I feel like I've captured the energy, and that's what's most important for me. It's time to start the final layer. Okay. Try not get stressed that I'm going to stuff this up because I'm so happy with how it's looking right now. It's going to be fine. Put some music on and focus on enjoying the flow. Okay, it's fine. Basically, I don't want to cover up this beautiful glowiness that I've created at the bottom. I probably should have pulled it up more. I'm not going to go through that now. So, again, it's not going to be perfectly accurate to my reference photo. I'm going to make it work. I think this one needs to be fatter. Come down there. And then we're going to have the base here. So it's going to be a taller pine. I still want it to come up that far because I like how that looks. It's just, I want to show off more of this. So it's going to look slightly different. But it's still going to have the same energy. It's done. Yeah, I don't want to touch that. I look at this painting and I honestly am transported back to Finland. It was the last day of my trip, and it was an incredible time in Finland. I only had, is it only like 3 full days there, and travel either side, but it felt like so much more time, and yet I did so much and didn't feel rushed. Anyway, I went to the Aurora village at Ivalo. If you are considering or it's on your bucket list to see the Northern Lights, to go up to Northern Finland, I would highly recommend the resort there. And all of the activities that I did at it. The last day was a big day. I had the hike, which was a big hike. It was bigger than I expected. And then I had my personal sauna in the evening, and then that night we went looking for auroras and we managed to see them. They were super faint, but given the entire conditions of my trip were cloudy, drizzly, I honestly had gotten to that point that final night where I was like, if I don't see the auroras, I've still had an incredible trip. I don't mind. And so that was just the cherry on top, to be able to see them, albeit quite faintly, but was still incredible, and I absolutely want to go back when it's winter. So I went during autumn. And the hike, we went up this like mountain. It was more than a hill, it felt like a mountain. And this was just before the top. And as we looked over, it was kind of partly drizzly rainy during the hike. Sometimes we'd get these random bursts of sunlight. And we were kind of stopped because I was out of breath, I think. And I was taking heaps of pictures. I was with one other Aussie that I ended up making friends with, a French couple, and our tour guide. And I looked over and I saw this vista where you could just, it's pine trees for ages, as far as your eye can see. It's like, that is, Finland is covered in a pine forest. And it's so stunningly still and silent. And I looked over and I was like, oh my gosh, I am going to paint that. Really happy to report that it captures that feeling that I wanted to. It was a bit touch and go at some stages creating this painting, but I'm super happy with it. It is Sunday, something of April. It's Easter Sunday. I'm having a little bit of a rough mental health day, to be honest. So I'm going to grab a few paint sketch supplies and I'm going to head off to the old Parliament House Gardens. The only reason I'm recording this, because frankly I don't always remember to record these lower moments, is to keep that authenticity that not everything is sunshine and rainbows, and often what I share is in fact a highlights reel, because I don't always record the vulnerable moments, and I didn't record my most vulnerable moment today. It's not my priority in those moments. My priority is myself and calming myself down. But I think it's important to share that we all have those moments, because I know when I see other people share that, to some extent it helps me feel a little bit seen. So it's not always sunshine and rainbows, even though I have a very beautiful, very privileged life. So I'm going to go create in nature for a little bit. Feeling a lot much more myself. I'm seated amongst the roses. The smell is so beautiful. Like, I have sat amongst the aromatic red roses quite purposefully. It is funny when you sit somewhere in a public space. I by no means own this space, but it's not like I have kind of taken over this little corner of the gardens. It's funny how many people just like walk right beside you. I think partly they're curious about what I'm doing, but they just don't want to voice that. I've done a little rose painting. I brought my blue pine arts paper and my new paintbrush that I still haven't used, that I bought from in Paris last year, and my blue pine arts paints. I've started another sketch. I don't know if it'll get finished. Enjoying soaking up some vitamin D through that sunshine and just being peaceful. If that one doesn't get completed, it doesn't get completed, and that's totally fine. So I did end up painting that final painting, and I almost forgot to take a clip to share with you. So let me reveal to you the second artwork that I painted here at the Rose Gardens. The sun is setting, it's getting cool, so I'm about to head off home, but it has been a wonderful afternoon sitting in the Rose Gardens. I feel so much calmer and steadier. It's really a testament to, one, being around nature, and two, being creative, because my brain completely switched off from the spiral that it has been in today. And although I know it's not a quick fix, it's not a permanent solution, and that I do have to do that positive self-talk, it really does help just for a moment to give myself a break from all of that. But anyway, let me share with you the final artwork. Here's the inspiration, and here's the painting. Alright, a little midpoint update. I have attempted to use some masking fluid. I've said attempt because we'll see if this works. It's a little bit of a gamble. But these bits that are blue down here, that is masking fluid. And what masking fluid is intended for is to protect those areas of the paper from any paint, so I can paint the water, and then I can use plastic, not an eraser, but to help pick that up off the paper. And the idea is it peels off and it reveals pristine watercolor paper ready for me to paint. It should be white. Because the fish are under the water, I don't mind if a little bit of the watercolor bleeds through on top. It'll probably make it look a little bit more realistic. I've never painted fish from this angle before. The idea is it's going to be a very pristine, crystal clear water. We're not attempting to do too much fanciness of ripples and things around and over the top of the fish. So, side note, oh, where are we? Here we are. I have this candle burning at the moment, and it's from Bush Blend Candle Co. And I got this from the handmade markets last year. And hopefully you can hear that it crackles, which I love because that's the wood wick that's used. It has a crackling sound effect. Let me show you. That is layer 1 done of the water. I don't want to overwork the paper too much. You can kind of see it's buckling a little bit because I did that wash layer over at the end. So I'm going to let it dry for the night. I don't want it to be too pigmented. I do want this to still be quite soft and for the pink cherry blossom to really be the standout. It's a very brisk autumn day here today. It is Wednesday the 15th of April and I'm doing a fun little thing. I'm packing up an order at the moment. I've got to go send it off to the post office. I have been unable to get there because if you're not Australian you wouldn't know that our post offices are only open between 9 and 5, and for those of us that have a 9 to 5 job, makes it difficult to get to the post office, but I'm working from home today. So I'm using my lunch break to get over there. But it's an exciting order. I got an email after receiving the order from the customer to let me know a little bit more about why they ordered what they did. Essentially, they run a reading retreats business here in Australia and are supporting me as a woman-owned small business to provide some bookish products to give away to all the people attending their retreats, which is just fantastic. And I didn't even really realize that we did those in Australia. I will definitely have to look into that by myself personally. But what we have got here in their order is 2 pot plant totes and 3 of my bookshop totes. That means that I am now sold out of pot plants. Anywho, and we also got some of my bookmarks. So we've got the floral design, the book dragon quote. So this is the usual design that I have on my totes, and it says no such thing as too many books. And we've also got the Austen print bookmarks. So I need to package this all up very kindly. They've asked if I want to put in some business cards to do that, which I will do, and get that off to the post office today. It is Thursday the 16th of April, and as you can see, the water is done. I didn't want to, like I said, do too much to it. I really wanted to deepen up some of these dark areas to emphasize the lightness of this area. And as you can see, I have used, I don't even know what this tool is called, but it's like a big hard piece of rubber. And as you can see, I've used it a little bit around the corners is easiest to peel and lift up that masking fluid that we applied earlier. So I was just at Eckersley's at the art shop here in Australia, and that's what the woman in the store recommended, and it certainly worked. Just applying a small amount of pressure, because it's rubbery and the masking fluid itself is kind of like a latex and rubbery, it sticks to itself. That's why I use the corners as easiest to start pulling, but just very minimal pressure, because if you apply a lot of pressure, you really risk lifting up the paper fibers. Similarly, wait until it's dry. I haven't been able to do this bit because I got a bit impatient and did a bit of a wash of pink over the cherry blossom. So this area here where there is a bit of masking fluid, it's still damp. So I'm not going to touch that. But as you can see, it's done a really good job, all things considered. There's a few areas where there's a bit of the water that came through. Like I said, these fish are underwater, so that's not a big issue. So yeah, very happy with how this is progressing. I know that once I build up the darker areas of this green in the background, this tree will sit nicer, and I will focus on doing the foliage, and then I will do the trunk afterwards because it is a bit of a darker color and it is easier to paint darker in watercolor than it is to try and go lighter. I tell you what, I'm feeling pretty good about this. I think it is time to remove the masking tape and then see how I'm feeling. Any other final little details that need to be done, but, well, excuse the creaking chair. Here it is. It's a little bit almost picture book-like, like children's book-like, and I don't hate that quality. I think it's whimsical and happy and bright, and yeah, really hope that they enjoy it. Okay, I grabbed the paper a little bit in that bottom corner. I'll just use a very clean damp brush to just soften that down a little bit, and it'll be hidden behind a frame once it's framed. But there we go, finished product. It is Sunday, the 19th of April. It is time to get started on the castle on the hill, the beautiful autumn Edinburgh castle, whatever we're going to end up naming this artwork, but that will come once it's done. We need to get started, so let's get started painting. I grabbed my canvases, most of them from a local $2 shop because they're a bit cheaper. When it comes to my acrylics, on canvases, I don't splurge for more expensive canvases. I don't think I'm that experienced enough to know the difference, and I'm still pretty happy with the end result of my paintings. Okay. So, I go pretty cheap, to be honest. I don't mind a thicker edged canvas, but they do make them sometimes heavier. So I kind of paint on both. This brand is called Paintwell. It's definitely the cheapest I can find at the $2 shop. The alternative is usually Montmartre, which is still similarly priced. They are unprimed. Typically I'm going to paint just straight onto the canvas like this, unprimed, no primer coat, nothing. I have done some so the first painting in this collection, my Parisian artwork, this one I did prime. I did a layer like this. This is the exact color I did as my base layer. I wanted it to have a really warm undertone. This one I do plan to use to paint another Parisian painting on later. It's a bit smaller size. But for this one, and even for the Misty Forest that I didn't prime. And I'm not going to prime this one. I'm just going to get straight away stuck into painting. So I'm going to start with, sorry, I just noticed there's like a bit of random plastic stuck there. I'm going to start with the sky. I always start with the sky. You always want to work with acrylics from whatever's in the background, work your way to the foreground. Because obviously it's easier to layer up and make it look more natural and build up that depth. But we're going to start with the sky, and that's probably all I'll get to today, whether I can get that finished or whether it is just the first layer of the sky. We shall see. can see, this keeps falling off. It's not conducive to enjoying the creative process. Okay, not the most calming start to this artwork. Couple things. It's only in putting the canvas on the easel that I've realised that it is slightly bowed. I think. Yeah. Damn it. And I was just saying that I buy cheap canvases because I don't really notice a difference. This I probably should have noticed. And it's hanging on a wall. Shouldn't notice a difference. Local $2 shop for the win. Officeworks did not have anything in stock. I'm glad I checked online before I went in. It is a thicker edged frame canvas, but I think that helps with it being square in this instance. I still stand by, you do not need to buy expensive canvases. I mean, this wasn't what you would consider expensive. I think it was $35 for that one. Can't remember how much this cost because it was a while ago that I bought it. I just now will make sure anytime that I buy canvases, I do not presume that they are flat. I've always checked that the corners are not damaged, that there's no perforations to the canvas itself, and I've checked for any divots, but I've never had to check that the overall canvas was square. And I think that is a risk you run with some of these thinner edged canvases, that they might not be. So, look, a lesson was learnt all in all of this, and hopefully if you are a painter watching this, and maybe you're just starting out with acrylics, I've helped you learn something as well. It is Sunday the 26th of April. I'm going to go to the old bus depot markets because I've got my friends Teddy's Matcha and the girl who nods, my friend Kayla, are there. So I'm going to get myself a matcha, say hi to them both, and then I might come back and do a bit of painting. Before this afternoon, I'm going to head out and watch the footy. The AFL is on here in Canberra and I managed to get a last minute ticket, so I'm going to go enjoy that with friends. So I will try and capture a little bit of that. Last night I used my projector to sketch out the castle. I really wanted that to be, this is going to be somewhat realistic. It's not going to be hyper realistic, but I wanted to make sure, ooh, I'm smudging it a bit there. I wanted to make sure that I had my proportions right, and on something this scale I didn't want to freehand it. It's quite detailed, the castle. So the castle is all sketched in here, ready for me to start painting, and then it'll be all this beautiful autumn foliage and the cliffside. Completely forgot to take any video because I was just chatting to my friends, but I got a salted maple matcha and it is delicious. It is a glorious day here at the markets. So make sure you follow Teddy's to find out where they pop up, and my friend Kayla, the girl who nods, to find what markets she's at next, and maybe I will see you there. The footy last night was a lot of fun. It is now Monday. It is our public holiday, and I'm not too close to camera because I am not camera ready, but I am starting off my morning with this painting. layer is done on that section of the castle at least. And well, I intended initially to go for a bit more of a realistic look and have the foliage down here really fluffy, visible brushstrokes, abstract, still realistic, but a bit more on the impressionist side of things. As I was painting this one, I was like, why? Why are we forcing ourselves to fit into a little box with this? I'm really loving with my acrylics how I can blend both that impressionist style that I adore and the more realistic elements. So I have ended up going with this really textured impressionist approach. This is the first layer. I need to do a little bit more, and I can go more realistic with the details of like the windows and the roof line and focus on those details. But when it comes to the brickwork, I feel like this gives it more life and more vibrancy. I have to say, this may have been one of my best painting sessions ever. Like, look at that. That rarely ever happens when painting. No, I definitely, like 9 times out of 10, I'm getting into flow state when I'm painting. And that's all that really matters to me. But when it comes out looking like this, you kind of go, oh, we're flowing in a whole other way. We're on a whole other level now. I mean, pressure's on for the rest of it. But I don't really feel the pressure. I feel like I'm just saying that. Oh, let's not jinx ourselves. But I was just in such a flow with this. And I know what I'm doing to like get that effect for the rest of this castle walls that I have to paint in. And then the foliage is going to be fun. I can use bigger brushes. I can be a bit more loosey-goosey. So with these areas where you can see all of this really textured brushwork, I was really loose there and I wasn't too concerned about staying in the lines. And then when it came to like the crisp lines here, these details around the windows, that's where I got the fine detailed brush out and was really paying attention and was really taking my time. And when I zoom out like this, you get a sense of the scale of that. Like that bit, the tiny little paintbrush. I'll show you. This is the paintbrush. There we go. That's the paintbrush I used for those details. That is, let me show you. I'm trying to give you a sense of scale. But it's the size of my fingernail. Like it's tiny. Oh, I need to clean it a bit better. But I loved having the balance of doing the detail work, being a bit looser, and how it's just come together and how the details really make that choppier piece look more intentional. Obsessed. All right, the sun is starting to fade and I need to go do some meal prep for the week. But I'm going to be doing, hold on, let me turn the camera around. There we are. This week I have some fun crafty things planned. So tomorrow night I'm heading to a friend's place. Once a month or thereabouts, we take turns hosting. It has now become dinner plus craft. So heading to a friend's place, and usually each of us brings either a craft project we've been putting off or just something that we want to do, could be even colouring in. And on Wednesday night, we've got Planty Peeps' first craft night, which is free, and I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm going to use it as an opportunity to catch up with another friend as well. And I'm going to take these postcard watercolor pad with me. So recently when I was traveling for my 9 to 5, I took it and just did these like mini sketches from photos that I've taken during my travels. My thinking is that I will sell these as part of my A Traveller's Journal collection. Painting on the front, and then on the back side is the usual kind of postcard situation, and I'll either write maybe a reflection related to that photo or something about travel or a quote or something. I thought something a little bit different. So that is the plan for the week, and that'll pretty much bring us to the end of April. I've got paint. But no brushes. With the brown and the green, but anyway. No, I'm a millennial.
What the hell is that?
I'm between a millennial and Gen Z.
Is that a thing?
It is. Content creation. It is the last day of April, so I am going to round out the vlog here. As you will have seen, Plenty Peeps night was lovely. It was so nice to catch up with some friends as well. I did catch up with friends the previous night, as discussed. We did not end up crafting. As one friend put it, it's kind of like a book club that you only occasionally talk about the book. Anyway, has been a lovely week, and I've got to say the last week and a half, the autumn colour has really popped off here in Canberra, which just puts a little bit of a pep in my step, not only because I love autumn and I love all of those beautiful colours, but it's also reminding me of my time over in Europe last year. The last time I experienced autumn was in Europe, and doing the paintings that I'm doing now as well is being able to relive those memories. So feeling a lot brighter and happier and excited to see what the month of May holds for me. It's definitely going to be a lot of painting and maybe some new opportunities coming up. I'm not sure. I'll keep you tuned. So I'm going to round it out there. And I hope wherever you are in this big wide world of ours that you are finding small joys in your life. You're finding ways to be creative. And I look forward to sharing more of my art and soul in the next vlog.